Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to High Point Market, and thanks for visiting here at Universal Furniture. If it's your first time, welcome. If you're coming back, thank you. We have a ton of product, and we have a lot of product in stock, so please take advantage of that. We have a new collection on floor 3 with Aaron Valencic, and on the first floor, we have our special order upholstery, which is shipping in 8 to 10 weeks. That's right, 8 to 10 weeks. And we also have a new collection called Nostalgia. Downstairs, you'll also find the Designer's Lounge, complete with the beauty bar, once again, which will be available today from 12 to 5, I believe, as well as some cocktails. So take advantage of all of that. If you want to see anything that I just mentioned and explore the showroom on your own, I just ask that you check in at the front desk. They'll get you scanned in. And everything in the showroom is tagged. And we have these little scanners that you can grab at the front. And you can actually scan all these products as you walk around. And when you leave, return that scanner and you'll get an email complete with everything you scanned. It links over to the website. It's super easy. So, and if you have an account with us, you can then just go right on the website and start shopping. If you don't have an account with us, you can sign up for that online as well. So very, very easy to do all of that. You are in the Learning Center, and we have 15 events over 5 days, and we're kicking off day 1 of market with Melissa Galt. And I know you guys have literally come in droves, Melissa is always such a great draw and has so much insightful things, I think, to help you with your business. If you miss any events, we are recording all of these, so it'll be available in the same place that you registered. So we will record them after. Give us about a week, and you'll have those available. So thank you for visiting us at Universal. Thanks for being here at Market. And Melissa, thank you for being here as well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Welcome, everybody. Okay, so I see we got some standing in the back already. You know, we got seats down here on the floor in the front. I promise not to step on you. You'd be a lot more comfortable than standing on those Tootsies, because those Tootsies are going to give way around 3 o'clock this afternoon. I know it a little too well. So yeah, grab some seats down front. Perfectly fine. We're used to doing it this way. You can also sit up in the windows, at least that window. The other ones are a little bit full. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay, all of you should have a What Would Melissa Say notebook. I do this not for my own purposes, but for yours, because I know too many designers who show up at these events with nothing to write on and nothing to write with. The reason it says What Would Melissa Say on it is because that is an expression the majority of my clients' spouses use once we start working together. What would Melissa say? In fact, I was with a group yesterday. I did a VIP tour private to my group, not going through High Point. And one of the folks on the tour was a client of mine. And she said, my husband's been asking me, did Melissa say we could have another long weekend? Because I also get my clients home by 6 o'clock at night and having their weekends off. Does that sound like something some of you would like to do? It really does make a difference, and it makes your spouses much more supportive. Super important. So this little card here, I'm giving you because I want you to be able to download a success guide to this program, okay? You do not need to take screenshots. Don't even bother. Don't waste your time. And if you're interested at all in finding out what programs I have, this is the guidebook for that. So I'm sharing those with you. Now with that, I have to stop waving my arms around and pay attention to what I'm doing here. This is hard for me because I talk with my hands, y'all. So you got to bear with. Rates and fees, how to charge flat fees and protect your profits. Let me see a show of hands. How many people have charged flat fees and it worked? And it worked. Okay, that's a fair number. How many people have charged flat fees and it didn't work? Oh, more hands. Okay. They do work. We're going to fix it. Okay? You're going to get 4 formulas today. Now, here's the crazy cool part. On yesterday's tour also, there was a gal named Jennifer Morrison, designer just like you. Jennifer came up to me at the end of the tour. She said, Melissa, you have changed my life. And I'm like, whoa. She said, I was at last spring's rates and fees, just like you are sitting here in this room. But she took everything that I will teach you today and she implemented it. And she said it has made a massive difference in her business. She could not thank me enough. Now, most hire me. That works out really well too. I'm happy to do that. But she implemented on her own. So what you're getting is implementable on your own. This is not a teaser. This is the real deal, and the Success Guide will help you with that. So I want to make sure you know that. So 10 years ago, research revealed that just 6% of consumers invested in design. That has now tripled to 18%, hence the demand that's gone through the roof in the last couple of years. Now, we don't know what the next 12 to 24 months is going to hold. I know we've all heard different things. Some of us have even heard Armageddon, okay? I don't believe that, but I'd rather be prepared than not. Flat fees are where the top of the market is. The top of the market is what is not impacted by downturns and uncertainty. They may be a little more discreet in their investments. I don't use the word spend for a reason. Watch my language, listen for my language, and you'll learn a lot. But this is what makes the difference. And value-based fees, which is the nicest way, the most elegant way to say a flat fee, value-based fees, because it's about your value. That's what you want to remember. This is about the long-term value of design. All of you are creating transformations that your client is living with and loving for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Anybody have a client that's had their work for 20 years? Yeah, okay? And sometimes they've moved that work and you've helped them move with it. You need to get compensated appropriately and generously at the front end because you're not getting royalties, right? Anybody here get royalties? Because if you are, I want to talk to you, okay? It's my plan for the industry. All right, so Muriel Brandolini, I don't know, how many of you know that name, Muriel Brandolini? A few of you, interesting. Okay, she is a top-notch designer. Muriel spent 9 months redesigning her client's Upper East Side apartment. They agreed on an overall 6-figure investment. I don't work with budgets, you should not either. A budget is a line item with a life cycle on an expense report. I just broke into accounting speak. That was unfortunate. An investment is not on an expense report, okay? So, language lesson. Charged a fixed 25% design fee based on the projected investment. And payable in installments, she charged no commission. Now, am I espousing that you give up your percent on product? No, I'm not. But there are designers out there doing this, and she's making a very tidy sum. Now, I did do this with a project, but I did 30%. I also got it on all the labor. I got it on all the labor. I got it on all the product. That 25%, what was it on? It was on the product. So she said she charged no commission, but she got the 25%, okay? That's what you kind of got to pay attention to in this. But when I did it, it was on all the labor as well, and I made out extremely well. The client was extremely happy, and our bookkeeping was a snap. No hourly to keep up with. No detailed invoices that give them a chance to ask you, it really took you 5 hours for that? Because that's what you want to avoid, okay? So she doesn't want to be a furniture salesman. That way she knows I'm not trying to rip her off. If I always had to be thinking about my commission, I would never sleep at night. The younger gens coming up, the millennials, and I have millennials in this room here, the millennials are pushing back on product markup, product commission. Those are not words I use, by the way. I don't use the word markup and commission, and you're going to learn what I use instead, and it will reframe and reposition what you're doing. Okay. Your clients want an ally and an advocate, not an adversary. I see a lot of yak going on Facebook about my client did this and my client did that and my client's mean to me. And I'm like, whoa. Yes, there are occasionally bad clients, but generally they're not. And we are the determinant of the relationship. So it's how you're showing up, your level of professionalism, your processes that will determine the course of that relationship. And they really do want an ally and an advocate. You know, if some of you all want to take seats in the little alleyway, whatever you want to call it here, you can. I hate that you're standing on those feet that you're going to need later. Transparent fees deliver the confidence, the control, and the compensation that you want. You will feel a lot more confident when you have value-based fees in your business than hourly. So I'm going to throw out some hourly numbers. I want to see where this room stands. Do I have people above 200 an hour in this room? Let me see a show of hands. Oh, yes. Love seeing that. That excites the daylights out of me. Do I have people below 150 in this room? A couple of you. Okay. Please get to 150. Here's the thing. The kids coming out of school these days, coming out of design school, are charging $125. Doesn't matter where you're located in the country. You are worth it. And I want to pull you off those hourlies anyway, but I had to find out. Okay? So what you're going to learn today is how to truly value yourselves. I've got to teach you that piece so you understand how you can move to flat fees, all right? How to detail design deliverables. Design deliverables are the magic, the secret sauce to making value-based fees work for you. If you tried value-based fees, if you tried flat fees, and you lost your shirt, I did once, and then I learned about deliverables, and I was like, oh, I didn't have to lose my shirt on that one. But what I did was I got a second piece of the project, and I made it up on that. So, but now I show you how to do it right from the start. Deliverables are the key. Deliverables are not the same as scope of work. Do not get confused by that, okay? 4 ways to set fees and how the top designers do it transparently, and 4 ways to calculate. So you are gonna learn all these pieces today. I want you to sit back, focus, and learn. This is why I gave you the success guide, and why I'm also gonna give you another goodie on top of that that's gonna be coming to your inboxes. I don't want you getting lost in screenshots. You'll never go back and look at them, I promise. So what's your true value? This is just 18 of the 36 hats that we as designers wear. Anybody recognize these hats? Materials master, contractor, psychologist, psychic. You ever tried to read your client's mind? How about the contractor's mind? That's a messy place to play around in, eh? Okay, we are magicians. Whether it's a fabric magician, we're mood makers. We create our clients' moods. We really do, okay? Time management ninja. Anybody here a ninja? If you're not a ninja, come Monday. Come to Universal, 2 o'clock on Monday. I'll make you a ninja. How about that? Creative genius, marketing maverick. These are just a few. But here's the irony. You're only getting paid for one, and it's not even on the list. Interior designer, right? So are you thinking, wow, maybe I'm worth a bit more than I thought I was? Because if you got paid for all of these hats, you'd be making $1,500 an hour. Ooh, that sounds pretty cool, eh? Okay, so your 6 design value factors. Your education, by the way, if you are not formally educated in design, that is totally cool. I work with plenty of designers who do not have a formal design education. Not imperative. But you may have education from another field. It translates, all right? Your experience, your talent, your resources, your team, and your hats. Team can be either actual team that you work with. Team can be your vendors. None of us could do what we do without incredible manufacturers, vendors, workrooms, artisans, installers. And I want you to consider them part of your team. They're essential, okay? So these are your value factors. Design is a short-term investment with a very long-term ROI on it. And I want you to remember this. When your client's starting to get kind of squirrely, they're like, well, we weren't planning to invest that much. I'm like, well, hang on a minute. You're going to be enjoying what we do together here, this transformation that we're creating for the next 10, 15 years at least. And then they go, oh, you know what? You're right. I forgot about that. I'm sorry, Melissa. What was I thinking? That's better. Okay? You have to remind them of this constantly on the path of design. They absolutely will forget. If that doesn't work for you, how many of you know the car metaphor? Ooh, I didn't see any hands go up on that one. Okay. The car metaphor is one of my favorites. It works extremely well with couples. Don't assume that the guy is the car guy. She might be the car girl, okay? You need to know a tiny bit about cars, not engines, just like car types, like Beamer 700 versus 500 versus Mercedes and so on. Most of your clients are probably driving cars that are between 50 and 70,000 minimum, and they may have 2 of them. You kind of need to find out what kind of car they have, and you need to find out how often they flip it. Are they flipping it every 3 to 5, every 5 to 7? And you need to start with, well, hang on, you know, we're working on this living room, and we got your primary bedroom all planned out, and then we've got the dining room and the kitchen to do. And I understand it feels like a lot. So that beautiful little Beamer you got out there in the garage, that's a pretty little car. How many hours a day are you spending in that car? They go, oh, well, gosh, you know, we're remote working now, so it's just a couple hours. Okay, so how many hours a day are you spending in the living room? Oh, gosh, we're in the living room like 4 or 5 hours a day. You don't usually have to go any further than that with the metaphor, but sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. And you just carry it out to fruition. You say, well, gosh, you know, you're flipping that car in, 5 years. You're not going to be flipping that living room for 15. Then they go, oh, I see where you're going with this. Okay? Everybody owns a car, right? I don't think any of you have clients who don't own cars, unless you're living in Manhattan. That might be the case. So, okay. There's going to be somebody in the room who don't have a car. Okay, you can't use a car metaphor. Do they have a boat? Can you use a boat metaphor? An airplane. Can you do it with an airplane? How often are you in the airplane versus in your home? Okay. So use these metaphors. They really make a difference. Besides, look at it this way: a place to relax, refresh, and recharge, a place to laugh and learn, a place for romance and connection. These are huge benefits. Huge. You don't do this stuff in your car. Okay. Generally. Well, we were talking about this last night at dinner. And last night at dinner, I was with several of my clients at dinner. It was really funny because I was saying, well, if you have a single male as a client, you might not want to say he doesn't entertain in his car, because he might. He might. Some of those married men might be entertaining in their car. We don't know. So we're not going there. But that's what you really want to focus on, is the short term versus long term. And that's what will make all the difference in the world. So your value increases every day with every seminar you're in, every market you attend, every new client you take on, every vendor you work with. You are gaining wisdom, experience, and expanding your talent. If your value is going up every day, isn't it time that your fees kept up? How many of you raised rates in the last year? Let me see a show of hands. Every hand in the room should have gone up. Oh, please don't leave money on the table, and don't undervalue yourselves. It's a chronic issue among all designers. It truly is, and it's the very first issue I tackle with all clients, the undervaluing. It really makes me a little crazy. Transparency builds trust. Transparency is terribly, terribly important. If you ever lose the trust of your client, it is darn near impossible to get it back. So I don't want you losing it, which means transparency really counts. Now, there's multiple ways you can slice and dice this, and there are actually more than just the 4 methods. There's additional methods as well, especially when it comes down to furnishings. But being transparent, which is what the very top does, makes a difference. You will never get caught then, okay? The old days weren't transparent. Integrity builds business. You know that. So I have tried it all. I've tried flat fees, square foot, hourly exclusively. Oh my gosh, let me tell you the hourly exclusively. It was terrifying. Dumbest thing I ever did. I was 5 years into my practice. I had a fabulous client. He was entrepreneurial. He had built his own financial services, banking industry, recruitment, firm. And one of the students in one of my classes was his executive admin. And she's the one who referred me to him. And Jim was a very strong personality, and he said, Melissa, I'm not going to pay you anything on product. You can adjust your hourly as you see fit. And I was like, okay, no problem. I'll just double my hourly. It's a long time ago, y'all. So I doubled my hourly. It was at $150. Keep in mind, I've been in business nearly 30 years. This was 5 years into my practice. So I was at $150 then. And I thought, I'll just double it. $300, no big deal. No problem. No pushback from him, understandably so. And we went to ADAC, Atlanta Decorative Arts Center, as 60 trade showrooms. In our first showroom, and Saks Tile, in 90 minutes, Jim invests $80,000. Can you do the math on what I made? $450. Unflippin' believable. I didn't even have 10% on product. I never, ever, ever did that again. Okay? So hourly exclusively does not work unless your hourly is going to be like $1,500 an hour. And even then it wouldn't have worked in somebody like that, because he's making decisions so fast, I'm not racking any time. I don't want to rack time. I don't want you to rack time. Okay? And an hour can't come close to valuing your education, your experience, your talent. Just not even possible unless it's at an astronomical rate, and there won't pay that. So project cost, combination method. I've done project cost. It's one I mentioned to you, 30% across the board. Loved it. Super clean, super easy. I was running my own crews. That's why I got it on labor. Okay, if you're not running your own crews, you can't get it on labor. That's not fair. So that's what makes the difference. So my design business is where I've experimented and still do, so you don't have to. My business today is 90% coaching, 10% design. I've been at this for a long time. I know a lot, I share a lot. So I don't have to keep doing it. I have enough experience and mistakes behind me. Letter of agreement, rates and fees, project management. By the way, in order to do flat rates, in order to do value-based fees, you must have the right letter of agreement. And I call it a letter of agreement, not a contract. Why? Because it's friendlier. It's way friendlier. It means exactly the same thing. I just don't like the C word. There's lots of words I don't like. The B word, the C word. We come across with a few more. And team building. Team building is really important. None of you are going to get a medal for hot dogging it in your business. None of you are going to get a medal for doing it all yourselves. Get over it. We are in the age of outsource, whether it's online or whether it's boots on the ground or a combination of both, which is my favorite, my ideal. So keep that in mind. Now, design is in my DNA. You should recognize some of these people here. The guy in the middle, that's Frank Lloyd Wright. He's my great-granddad. Okay. The lady on the other side, that's my mother. In All About, no, that was not All About Eve. That one is 10 Commandments. So my mother's was Ann Baxter. And this lovely lady here is my godmother, Edith Head. Some of you may know her from Edna Mode in The Incredibles if you've got kids. Now, I don't normally share them in my presentations, but I've had too many people look at me like, oh, you didn't tell me that. Why didn't you tell me that? I'm like, well, now you know. So I come from a long line of creativity, and I come from a line of people who have done some pretty extraordinary things in their own lives, took a lot of risks, made a lot of mistakes, and they kept going. And great-grandfather is absolutely included in that. He had a 20-year dry spell between 50 and 70, and his most prolific period was 70 to 90. So who knows what's ahead of me? All right, I share this one because I want all of you to create a life that you love that will deliver wonderful clients to you, because you are at your most magnetic and memorable when you are doing what you love, whether it's out sailing a boat, whether it's gardening, whether it's going to a boat show, whether it's riding a horse. I have a client out of Chicago. When we started coaching within the first week, I said, Jenna, where have you gotten your ideal clients from? And she goes, well, horseback riding. I said, and you just told me you've given up horseback riding because you're so busy in your business. That's not working very well. I said, Jenna, go get a horse. 2 weeks later, when we met again, she had a horse, Ernie. A year later, her business bought Ernie. And now when she rides and shows, her business name is evident in all of the catalogs and on Ernie. And being an equestrian is a high-end luxury sport. So if you're a rider, consider getting an Ernie into your business, okay? She loves to ride. It's where she's most lit up. And at our height together, she was riding 3 days a week. But it was easy to do because it's where she was meeting ideal clients. And she lived in Chicago at the time. Now she's moved to Lexington, Kentucky. And she's still riding because Lexington is horse country. So I want you to build a life like this where you can be lit up doing what you love. Too many designers think they have to turn themselves into some sort of pretzel to get great clients or go, networking, woo! No, you don't. Unless you love it and you're good at it. And I had a designer with us last night who loves networking, is very good at it. She came out of corporate. So, but you don't have to do that. I want you doing things that you love and are good at. It has to be organic and authentic. All right, so one size does not fit all. It's the reason I'm giving you 4 formulas, okay? I want to make sure that you pick and choose what will resonate and work with you. I want you being very careful. There is one big danger here at High Point. Probably many big dangers, but I only know of one. The big danger is you're going to take a whole bunch of different classes. You're going to try to put all of that in your mental blender and hit the speed button on high and then apply it to your business. And you are going to have one mess on your hands. Please don't do that, okay? Please also be careful about listening to the advice of friends and colleagues. Their business is different than yours. I have never seen 2 identical design practices because they are as unique as each one of you. So be careful about trying to apply something that's working for them into your business. You don't know the entire back end of their business. That will make a difference. And fit the size piece, fit the formula that you like the best. Use that. You don't have to use what somebody else is using. All right, so you're one of a kind. Adapt your fees per project per client. I actually like to give clients sometimes a choice. Now, the end result's going to come out the same. They just don't know that. And sometimes it makes them feel like, oh, we have a choice on which kind of fees. I don't give them a choice of hourly. No. And I hear that there are clients pushing back, allegedly saying they want hourly. These are not ideal clients. Okay, because the reason value-based fees work so well is because they allow the client to control their interior investment. It's a huge selling point. They're not dealing with 1 month it's 5,000, next month it's 30,000, the next month it's 10,000. They have a steady payment schedule all the way across. Makes it much simpler, and you get to track your cash flow. That's awesome, okay? Find what fits you. Don't rely on what someone else is doing, and be your best you. And really, the whole reason I put this in here is because of the cat. I'm a cat person. Now you know. Now, I'm going to be sharing stories from time to time of some of my clients. Elizabeth is out of Chicago. I just had dinner with her a couple of weeks ago. What I love about Elizabeth is she loves construction. Every year, she builds 2 spec homes, furnishes them, and sells them, along with other design projects that she does. She's earned the right to do it. She also has a GC license. She still gets a GC in to do these things, but that's a lot of freedom. It's a lot of freedom. She's super savvy. She has a real estate license as well. So she's making money on every end possible, and it's really cool. And when we started working together, she wasn't quite there. She was doing 1 home a year. She wants to grow it to 3 and 4 eventually. But I do love what she said about increasing her revenue by 500%. I think that's kind of fun. Now, deliverables. This is the level of specificity I want you to have. This is not scope of work, okay? Remodel, design, decorate. I only took it to the 3 client meetings at the house. It's much longer in the success guide, okay? 1 project vision board, aka mood board, 2 floor plans per room. I want you putting numbers next to each piece, okay? When we get to the 3 client meetings, I want to know up to 2 hours, up to 3 hours. If you don't put an up to, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be there all day. And you're going to lose revenue by doing that. Okay. Now, what I'd really like to see when you break out the meetings, I'd like to see 1 lighting walkthrough, 1 plumbing walkthrough, 1 paint walkthrough, 1 tile walkthrough. Because we all know, even though you do the beautiful binder and you hand it off to the builder, they don't look at the binder. They want you to sketch it on a piece of sheetrock nearby. I find this puzzling, but some of them are getting a little more digitally savvy. 1 set of construction docs, 1 set of permit docs. It sounds silly to have to say 1 set, 1 set, 1 set. But here's the other thing that's super important. See this 1 revision allowed per room? You have to decide, is it an item or an entire room? Or can you say 3 revisions per room? But you better say 3 items revised per room. Because if you say 3 revisions per room, you know what's going to happen. Your client's going to go, oh, you give me 3 whole separate rooms. No, I will not. Okay? You're not used to being this specific. I get it. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like it's going to hamper your creativity. It's not. It's not, and here's why it's not. Because you've been too liberal in giving your client control of the project. I want you to take control back. You know what's best for your client. They don't know best. Why don't they know best? Because they're not an expert in design. They're not an expert in the home. They hired you for your expertise. So I want you taking back that control, and when you have just the perfect scheme for them and all the great selections, you're like, this is it. They got to go for this. You can keep some back pocket secondary selections on hand, but give them the one, and you're never convincing, you're never selling. Educate them into the value of it. Educate them into the value of it. I have a routine habit on projects of doubling, tripling, quadrupling, and quintupling my client's investment. Anybody else here do that? Yeah, excellent. I love that. It's a lot of fun. I don't push, I don't manipulate, and I don't sell. Our greatest job as designers is to show our clients what they didn't know existed, and now they can't live without it. But if you allow their planned investment to stop you from showing them something, that is a fail on your part, because you do not have access to their bank statements. You do not have access to their financial advisor. You don't know what they have available for this. And there are plenty of clients who, when shown the right context, the right renderings, the right plans, the right selections, will say yes, 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 yes. They'll have their own Meg Ryan moment. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Okay? So this is for remodel, design, decorate. And this next one is for design, decorate. 1 elevation of each custom built in. 1 revision allowed per room, item, or entire room. You have to specify client meetings at house. How many? how many, and then the time frame. You've got to get super specific. This will protect your profits because you know what goes at the bottom of every deliverables list? It's a little asterisk. It's in the success guide, and it says, additions or changes require a change order and additional fees, not additional hours. We don't want hourly entering anywhere into this. Additional fees. Okay? That is the magical clause. That is your get out of jail free clause. Here's the trick. Your change orders have to be issued and paid in full before you do the additional or changed work. If you do not do that, you will not get paid. Guaranteed. And it's going to create friction with the client. I don't want to have that happen. So I'm going to give examples from designers who are out there doing this. Meredith Heron uses percent of project cost. She charges a fee based on the percentage of the overall investment, much like a contractor. Now, interestingly, for a project under 150, her fee's 25%. As the investment increases, she drops. I don't drop. I like percent of project investment, aka cost, because it grows when the project grows. So I don't see a reason to drop it. It's your choice. If you want to drop, you can. But here's the super important part. Before anything gets ordered, we should have approximately 90% of our fee before anything gets ordered. Woohoo! And check this out. Before we collect the remaining 10%, before we deliver an install. Okay, that means that your shipping, handling, which should also include your receiving and your installation, should all be billed in advance of it actually happening. It should be estimated, and the estimate will be different depending on where you are in the country, whether you're East Coast, whether you're West Coast. East Coast is, right now, it's averaging around 20%. West Coast is averaging as high as 30% of the product investment is shipping, handling, and includes all those other pieces. You need to get that estimated in advance because it's going to take you too long to wait for the actual bills, and it could be 2 months, 3 months after the install before they actually show up, and then you're coming back to your client for more money? No. Don't do that, please. You can do a reconciliation, and if it turns out that you owe them a few $100s, you can send them a check. It has never happened to me, by the way. But I do the reconciliation anyway because I want to see where I landed. Because there's always other little bits and pieces you have to cover. So really important that you do that. Please don't be hanging out there at installation needing monies owed. They'll drag you out 90 days on that, especially the high-end clients. It's one of the ways they keep their money. They know how to hang on to it. Okay? So the pros on this, clean and simple. All right, mirrors architects, builders, and contractors. One caveat with that, though. Has anybody here ever had a contractor, builder, or an architect say, you can't charge that? I have heard this, and that is none of their business what we charge. But you want to be friendly about it. You want to be friendly. So you say, gosh, your fee is actually a lower percentage on a much larger number. My fee sounds like it's higher, but it's actually on a much smaller number. And if they're smart, they'll shut up and leave you alone, okay? Because it really isn't any of their concern. You should be working directly with the client. Don't work through the builder. Get referrals from builders, get referrals from architects, get referrals from contractors. Don't work through them. You will not make near as much, okay? You will not make what you deserve. So it grows when the project grows, which I love it. Requires a minimum project size. Why do I say that? Well, you need to stipulate in your letter of agreement that project must meet a minimum of, and you pick your of number, so that if the client decides to start playing hack with their investment, it drops below a certain number, you can either restructure or you can walk away. Okay? It won't work if numbers drop too low. It just won't work. You'll need a different methodology. Okay? So I want to share an example here, and we're going to use this 4 times over. So 2,500 square foot reno with furnishings, interior project investment 200,000, estimated hours 150. I need those details whenever I'm calculating a client's project management fee. Whenever I'm calculating their fee for their project, okay? Really, really important that you have these pieces of information. Now, there's an additional piece of information that can be incredibly helpful: the value of the home. the value of the home. I need the square foot value of the home. Okay, you can usually get it from Zillow or Realtor.com. Okay, is anybody cold? Okay, can we possibly, there was a resounding yes. Okay, Allison, can you do me a huge favor? Can you see if there's somebody out there who can raise the thermostat, or maybe you can tinker with it over here on the wall? It's above the blue aluminum thing. We brought it down because it was really warm in here when we started, and it's gotten a little too chilly. Yeah, some of you look like you're gonna like this. Not my goal, not my goal. Okay, so this information is critical. You need these numbers. Please don't tell me you don't have the client's planned project investment, planned interior investment. If you are not getting that number, do not proceed. You do not want your proposal to be the first time they've heard numbers from you. You will lose them. Please don't do that. So if they go, I don't know, what do you think? You have enough experience that you can give them ballparks. You can say, well, in our experience, that should be 100 to 150,000. Or in our experience, that should be 250 to 350. Or in our experience, that should be 50 to 75,000. Give them a range. Then ask them, where are you in that range? And they'll give you one of three responses. They'll say, oh, well, okay, well, we kind of planned 100. We're good with that. We're going to have a little trouble if we get too high above that. Okay, so now you know they're at the bottom of the range. All right, or they could say, oh, we'd earmarked 200,000. We're good to go. That 150 cap won't be a problem for us. Or they may not disclose that. Or they'll go, 100? I didn't think it was going to be that much. And that might be your red flag to wrap up the conversation and say, gosh, we're not going to be a fit for you. Never say they're not a fit for you. Always say, it's me, it's not you. It's the dating line. It's me, it's not you. Okay? Don't proceed if you don't have agreement on the investment. It doesn't mean the investment can't go higher. Absolutely it can. But if you're not agreeing on baseline numbers, walk away. They're not the right fit for you. Don't be desperate. Don't ever get that hungry. You will sacrifice your peace of mind, which is priceless and never for sale. Okay? Been there, done that. Fired 5 clients in 30 years. That's pretty good. So percentage of project cost, 25%, 200K times 0.25, 50K VB, value-based fee. Easy, right? Simple? Makes sense? Not complicated math. I'm not very good at math. I know most designers aren't. Natalie actually owns a retail furniture company and was not making any money on design as fees when we met. That has changed dramatically. Now she gets value-based fees on every single project in addition to all of the revenue coming in from the furnishings. So you can make a shift like that as well. I've worked with more than one designer retailer who wasn't making money on design fees because they were making it all on product. And they thought, well, how can I do that? I'm like, well, let me show you how you can do that. And boom, all of a sudden they have a multiple 6-figure revenue stream happening. It's really cool. And you really are able to do this. Many of you, most of you have been leaving a lot of money and opportunity on the table. And I really want to share with you that you don't have to, okay? Remember, short-term investment, long-term ROI. So she is in Ohio, and she says she never feels pushed. If you want to be pushed, I'll push you. If you don't want to be pushed, I won't push you. It's really simple. I have people who like to be pushed. Oh, there, went away. Okay. Samantha Orley. Now, what you need to know about Samantha is Samantha came from a star-studded celebrity path in fashion. And the reason she stepped into design is because she was having her first child, and all of her friends were having their first babies, and they're like, Samantha, you got to get into this design racket, man. I mean, the prices are through the roof. It's crazy. There's no consistency. We don't know what we're doing. We need your help. So they convinced her to step into design. Now, what she did is really kind of interesting here, the $10 a square foot for design schemes and shopping lists. The word shopping makes me cringe. You never shop. You source, you resource, you explore, you scout. You do not shop. Consumers shop. Learn the language. Shopping has no value. Sourcing is priceless. Okay? 10%, ooh, that M word, markup. I don't use the markup word either. You. I use a word, procurement management fee, product management fee, purchasing management fee. Those are my terms, okay? Don't use markup. If you want her to handle them and $1,000 for installation, well, I know a lot of installations are a whole lot more than $1,000. And she's obviously doing smaller level work here. But this was about the only example I could find. Now, I do square foot with my folks all the time. The designers I work with, we range square foots from about $5 a square foot all the way up to $45 and $55 a square foot. It depends. It's a sliding scale. It depends not only on the scope of work and the deliverables, but it also depends on the value of the home. Because you can have a small footprint, but it could be a $7 million condo. So you got to be aware of that. All of that has to be factored in. And square footage is a really great place to play, but again, it doesn't work if it's not the entire unit or the entire floor. Doesn't work per room. Don't try and do it per room. Don't do it for a kitchen. Don't do it for a bathroom. The square footage is much too small. Your number would have to be much too high. Okay? So super important there. 3 to 35, my numbers have changed slightly. We don't do 3 anymore. We usually don't even do 5. We usually start at about 7 or 10. I think the coolest story was from a designer that I work with, and she had finishes, fixtures, and lighting she was doing for a 9,400 square foot home. And she went in and asked for $10 a square foot, and she got it. $94,000 later. That worked really well. So, if you don't ask, you don't get. Most of you are hampered by not being willing to ask for enough. You can always take a deliverable off the table. Never just back off your rates unless you're willing to back off your deliverables, because otherwise it looks like you're too flexible and you don't have enough rationale behind your rates. It's super simple to calculate. Finite for the client, it's great for them. It's flexible per project, define deliverables precisely, no room to grow it. So, unless they're going to add square footage, but it's not like percent of project investment or cost, it doesn't grow. So, math on it, super simple. And here's what I love about it. I love that it's just a tiny incremental change that produces a much larger number on the other side, doesn't it? So our other number was $50K, and in this case, we've got $48,750 or $56,250. By the way, if you use numbers with the $250 and the $750 on them, or even a $500 on them, first of all, it sounds better if it's coming out of your mouth. Think about it. If I say $48,000 versus $48,750, which one sounds more palatable? The $48,750. Yeah. It's a neat little mnemonic. I think they call it a mnemonic trick. All right? But you can also, I don't know where that's coming from. That's kind of interesting. It's also fun because it is a small jump. Now, you should be willing to tell your client what their square foot is, what the square foot price is. So, wonderful example. She's actually coming up here, so I'll save it for that. But a story from a client who did this. I got her to double her square footage. She could have gone higher than that, but she couldn't personally get higher than that. So it makes a difference. All right. Rachel is in Boston, and we did a lot of calling her out on things. How many people here are an overthinker? Every hand in the room should be going up. Yeah. I also have for my clients vetted providers. I don't want you all spending your time looking for resources. I want to be able to just provide them for you. It's a major, major shortcut, and I love doing that. So Rachel's done some incredible things, and she's now moving into a lot more hospitality, which is a super amount of fun because hospitality is getting much more residential in flavor. Hospitality took a huge hit during COVID. I keep walking into hotel rooms that feel like they're hospital rooms. It's kind of freaky. And so there's a lot of opportunity if you're interested in that level of the business. Okay, so Frank Ponterio, flat fixed fee method. Here's the key. He employs a straight fee-based model as one of his approaches. This is only one of his approaches. And he will do it on clients he knows very well. So he'll do it on a second or third project. He doesn't do it on a first project because he doesn't know how they're going to behave. Clients have a really unfortunate habit of acting one way with us until they've signed the agreement, and then all of a sudden, it's this Jekyll Hyde thing. What is up with that? They were like on best behavior. And then they sign the agreement, and that goes out the window. And you're like, what happened? So you do want to protect yourselves from that. But that's why he says he only does this when the scope of work and deliverables are very well defined and understood, and if all aspects of the project are very clear and the team is of the highest caliber. If you don't have a great team, not going to work well. Not going to work well at all. It's a wonderful method. So the pros, it's the simplest to sell. You define the deliverables. You've got the deliverables coming to you in the success guide. You've got these parts and pieces now. You see the difference between deliverables and scope of work, right? Everybody got that part? You can make it a pay in full, PIF, those are my favorites, or schedule it. Best on predictable projects with clients that you know. But I have plenty of designers who are using it on clients they don't know, and it is working extremely well. And the clients relate well to a square footage, and they also relate well to this method. They're very comfortable with it. You can lose your shirt if you don't know the client well, and no growth unless change orders. So I got lulled into this, my very first one. I got a call from a doctor. He was marrying another doctor. It was their second marriage. They were in their 50s. And I was the wedding gift. It was so romantic. I was like, oh. So I didn't get to meet her, have any conversations with her. And I made the assumption, with all that brings, that she would be just like him. He was laid back and easygoing and lovely. You know that phrase, opposites attract? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's where I lost my shirt on the first half of the project, and I reclaimed it on the second. And they are still friends to this day, and I will go out and have dinner with them in Atlanta when I'm there. So that's where you got to be careful. If you've got one that's really easygoing and all that, keep thinking opposites attract, and ask to meet that second person. I was a present. I was a surprise, so I couldn't, and I'm not sure how else I could have handled that. But I definitely would have put more money on the other end of the project. I also got roped into working with their contractor, which I never, ever, ever do because their contractor was not well organized. He was not disciplined. He ran hours like crazy. It was a mess. So, lesson learned. It happens. So, hourly with a multiplier. Now, here's the thing. How many people have taken your estimated hours and tried to turn it into a value-based fee? Okay, a couple of you have. All right, did it work? It worked? Really? Okay, you left money on the table. Okay. The reason I say that is because no designer who's charging hourly is actually charging 100% of what you're working. You're charging on average 65 to 70% maximum. Some are charging a lot less. I've actually had designers tell me they charge 10% of their 100% billable hours, which terrifies me. So my methodology is such that you do times 1.5 as a multiplier to cover that gap. The gap becomes especially acute when you're not billing with a line item on hourly for all the project communication, all the emails, all the texts, not just with the client, but with all the workrooms, the vendors, and all of that. That's often a communication piece that's missed, okay? So this is one of the ways, and that came out at 45. I make more money with the other methods. Now, if the client's going to be a PITA, also known as a pain in the, I'll let you fill in the gap there. Okay, I do times 1.75. Hey, you got to cover that extra stress. You're going to need the chiropractor. You might need a therapist at the end of the project. You got to cover that. It's a business expense. Okay, so. Vincent Wolf explains that he prefers a simple, straightforward. We charge a design fee. I love this method, by the way. This is my favorite method. I've got it on a project right now. Design fee when you start a job, which is worked out according to, Vincent hasn't taken my class, according to investment and the scale of the job. Then we charge 35%. He hasn't taken my class. He calls it a commission. No, Vincent, it's not a commission. On the wholesale price, we don't charge time and commission. Time and commission is double dip. You're double dipping if you're doing that. Now, if you're getting away with it, I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of don't want to break your system if it's working for you, but there's a cleaner, more transparent way to do it, and you'll still be able to make that much and more, okay? So be a little careful about that, because sometimes these things are hidden within the business, hidden in the fees, and clients will check with their friends, and they'll check with other people, and then they can come after you in the most unpleasant of ways. I've not personally ever had any of this happen, but I did have an article that a gentleman read online about fees, and he wrote in about his designer that he was working with. He'd asked her for the invoices, and she'd refused to share them with him, and he was under the impression that he was getting her cost. It was very clear that he was not getting her cost, or she would have shared the invoices. And he didn't know. She had not been transparent in stating what her fees were. So that's why transparency matters. If they don't know, they start to ask a lot more questions, and that puts you in an awkward and uncomfortable position. You do not have to share your invoices. If you do share your invoices, and I black out the source, but I still share the numbers so they can see them, okay? But you don't have to share your invoices. But if your client ever wanted to do an audit, would you be able to stand up with that audit? Think about it. Are you transparent enough that if they chose to do that and asked you about an audit, you'd feel comfortable and say, yes, absolutely, no problem. So fixed design fee. And again, you can arrive at the design fee in multiples of those methods that we've reviewed. And then 25 to 45% of product purchased through you at your cost, no splitting of discounts, also known as, I don't call it a project management fee anymore because that gets monkeyed up if there's remodel going on. We call it either a procurement management fee. The word management is critical. If you just call it a purchasing fee or you just call it a procurement fee, that doesn't sound nearly as palatable as a procurement management fee or a purchasing management fee or a product management fee. The term procurement fee, purchasing fee, product fee sounds like a commission. It's not what you want it to sound like, because there are 10 different items that go with that in terms of what you're doing. You're producing the PO. You're placing the order. You're tracking it. You're taking care of discontinued selections and reselections. You're handling the receiving, the inspection. I don't mention the word storage to clients because I've learned that it can be a real trigger. So that just is rolled all into shipping and handling. Okay, if some clients are better at that than others. I actually had one designer I was working with out of Texas. She mentioned storage to her client. Her client goes, "Oh, we've got a warehouse." She wound up having to ship everything to the client's warehouse, and there was no receiver there. There was no one there to inspect it. It was not a winning situation, but that's the sort of wild card that can happen. So you got to be really careful. Oh my goodness. So design fee includes these pieces here. Everything up to the actual procurement. All selections, all plans, drawings, sketches, renderings, mood boards, presentations, project sourcing. The sourcing is taken care of. The selections are made. No ordering is taking place. That's a separate fee. I love the 2-fee method. It works really well. Sometimes you need a 3-fee method where you have to add in a fee for, we call it design implementation, when it's remodeling or renovation or construction and you're having to do a lot of work with the contractor. There's a separate fee for that. And that's a whole other kettle of fish training that we could go into. All finish and fixture selections throughout renovated and existing spaces, all furniture, rug, lighting, all of that, okay? Then that stops, and then the next fee kicks in. So this is a lot. This is the management piece. And if you share this with the client, don't be shy about sharing this with the client. Let them know that you're doing, here are all the things that we're doing for you. They go, oh. You know, when a client says they want to purchase on their own, the first thing I ask them is, oh, so do you have a dock at your home that's available for 18-wheelers? And you have somebody there to receive between 8 and 6 every day? Excellent. Never once has a client said yes to me. So, and then buy the room fees. Now, buy the room fees work extremely well. You can certainly increase your ranges. I have more ranges than this in your success guide, by the way. This is just kind of the top level. Plus product management, okay? You've got to let them know how much they're going to be paying on top of the product. Is it a 35%? Is it 45%? I actually have a designer in Pennsylvania who charges 60% on top and gets it. No pushback. Cool, huh? Want to try it? Let's do that. Yes. Okay, this could be a whole separate training because there are designers out there that like to use IMAP less 20 or sometimes IMAP less 10. That's another option that we're a little finite on time for me to get that far into the nuances. I want to go more on the design fee route today. But yeah, I actually do charge on top. If there's something that I've bought at retail for a client, I do charge a 30% or the 35% on top of retail because I'm still doing all of those steps, all of that handling for it. But most of what you're getting should be trade. If you're getting a majority of retail, you better be getting discounts from retail. But the problem with discounts from retail is most of your clients can get those same discounts. You're not protected. There are trade sources that will protect you. I just led a full day tour yesterday for designers, not through High Point, by the way. I mean, it was here in High Point, but I didn't market it through High Point. It was my private subscribers. I led a tour of 20 designers to sources that are outlying that will take care of and protect designers and are not found online. So they do exist. They do exist. Okay, so Andrea, this was funny. Her very first flat fee. She came to me, she said, Melissa, I'm going to charge $750 a square foot. I said, what? I said, no. Andrea, we got to get you up higher than that. This was remodel, no furnishings, okay? I said, can you double? Can you get to 15 for me? And she goes, I can't do it. Can't do it. I'm like, okay. How high can you go? Can you go 1350? I feel like I'm an auctioneer here. 1350, going once. She did 1350. She got in front of the client. He happened to be a VP with Zoom in the middle of COVID. Hello. So she gets in front of him, and he asks her one question. And she's scared to death going in there. She's like shaking in her boots. And she's like, he asked me just one question, Melissa. He said, what's the basis for my fee? And I told him it was $13.50 square foot. He goes, oh, that's great. And he whips out his checkbook, and he writes a check for $46,000. And I said, Andrea, you left money on the table. So that's the thing is she was terrified. You're only going to be able to go as far as your fears will let you. Okay? And I'm not in a place where I'm going to push somebody, through that and say, well, you have to do it. No. I said, how far can we get you? Can we get you to 1350? And she did it. But she definitely left because the minute he said, oh, 1350 square foot, she wrote the check. It was the largest check she'd ever gotten to that point. Now, she quadrupled her revenues during COVID, during 2020 in California. So it was a ton of fun working with her. And she got home every night at 6 o'clock. And her husband is the first person who coined the phrase, what would Melissa say? He was the very first. There have been a whole lot since then. And probably others that I don't even know about. But really fun. So I want you more in control, more at ease, more confident, and I want you more profitable. You can make a wonderfully comfortable, juicy, amazing living in design without sacrificing yourself to your business and have the resources and the time for an incredible life. And that's what I really want for you. So I feel like we've done this today. Now, I'd love to have another hour with you. We don't have that. I do have a meetup happening next door in the Designer Lounge for those of you that do have questions and want to ask them. We'll be there for about an hour. And I also want to share this with me. These are real, believe it or not, and they're very different, okay? Lisa came out of a background where she'd been working for another firm for 8 years. And she spent a year in this program with me. It took me the first 4 months just to get her to leave the job. And when she did, she took off. Now, she took off because I continually had to massage everything she was learning and doing and processes and all of those pieces. But she's still flying very, very high. And it's incredibly cool to have results of that. When I read that, because I don't get my own testimonials, I have someone do that for me, I just about fell out of my chair. I hadn't had a numbers reference from her. And then there's Kirsten, who for 15 plus years had barely been cracking 60K, and she sailed past six figures for the first time. And it's just so incredibly rewarding to have these wins. And she was due at a recent live retreat and was down with COVID, unfortunately. And then Nikki literally just opened Wonderwalls, a showroom in Florida, in addition to being able to achieve this. She reduced her client load by 75% and still added over 100K. So I don't want you all working yourselves into the ground. I truly and really don't. I want you in love with your businesses, and I want your business loving you back. That's really what we're all in this for. If you're not loving your business, it's not that it's time to get out, it's time to do it differently. And this can make a huge, huge difference. You also have a lot of other options. I do a lot of private one-to-one coaching as well. This is a new group program. I did a beta test for a year. The results were through the roof, and we're launching it now, and you get bonus content, and then we officially launch January, because I don't want you scrambled up at the end of the year. It's a crazy time of year for all of us. So High Point Fall, if you haven't gotten enough of me here, these are the other events. I've got another Universal on Monday. I've got a Chelsea House tomorrow that's going to be a whole lot of fun, and Suites at Market Square on Tuesday. And we've got meetups that follow both of the Universal ones, so I'll be over in the Designer Lounge. And as of noon, they open the bar, so we got an hour before we can have a cocktail. Anybody who follows me knows I'm a big fan of those creative cocktails. All right? I have a book called Marketing Luxury Design. There are a couple of book signings this market also. And there's the designer meetup. So if you've got questions, ask them. Otherwise, you can find me next door and you can ask me over there. Enjoyed being here.